I'm Kyle Tate, and welcome to the MANUP podcast, the podcast that is empowering men to become the best version of themselves through mind, body, and spirit. On the MANUP podcast, we're going to be exploring all different areas. We're going to have interviews with people from all different perspectives, all different professionalisms, all different demographics. We're going to be exploring mental health, emotional, spiritual health, and physical, biological health, practitioners and professionals in all walks. We're very excited to educate, expose, and bring awareness and offer resources and practices for our viewers and listeners. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click the link and the subscribe button. If you're following us on Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow. And with that being said, let me introduce you to today's guest.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the MANUP podcast. Coach Kyle Tate here. Very excited today to bring on an amazing guest, someone that's very near and dear to my heart personally and also professionally. The introduction probably it says it all. For those of you familiar or not familiar, I want to introduce you to an amazing gentleman this morning by the name of Mr. Jimmy Bluff. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause and thank you.
Such a pleasure to be here, you guys. I am the creator of Advanced Muscle Reconstruction, what we call the Bluff technique. And my trademark is surgery without the knife. What I do is look at the body from not only a physical, but an emotional, spiritual standpoint, and release pent-up trauma deep inside the fascial tissue, the connective tissue, and basically realign the body like a tailor would a suit coat, you know? So I view the body as a spirit in the body. I've been doing this for a long time, between professional bodybuilding and severe scoliosis and children with special needs, seniors, ex-military, ex-police. I mean, you name it. I've had the ability to really have a lot of conversations over the last 20 years and 50 some odd thousand hours in my total career. And it's continued to evolve, and it still does continue to evolve beyond just, physical healing and realignment. Like we discussed, I look at my work as so much more deep, because that fascial tissue, they say, is 2,000 pounds of tensile strength per square inch, and it has the consistency of steel wool. And obviously now studies are showing that our emotional trauma gets stuck energy in some of these sleep patterns. You're right. So, yeah.
Guilty. Wow. That's fascinating, Jimmy. I've never heard the statistics before. I appreciate that, because I'm such a student of health and wellness, but to hear the scientifics behind the actual the tensile strength and the human structure, to me, is so fascinating. In awe of what we can operate and what we can do as human beings, but to hear the set of nuts and bolts and the scientific behind it is fascinating.
I think it's important, because a lot of people are just told specific things by doctors that really aren't trying to heal anything. They're in their own lane to cut, to give pills, or however they get paid. They don't want to explain to people how to have longevity or how not to see them. And it's kind of a crappy business plan. But my whole idea is to get my clients to a place, whether it's the first session or the 12th hour of a program or whatever, so that they can maintain it and not need to see me again. And to take into account their movement patterns, their sitting patterns. Are they crossing their ankles? And how are they sleeping? Because I can see the fascial lines. And let me tell you, it is unbelievably so fascinating once you understand how the body kind of folds in on itself, and when people sleep, and how the tissue just meshes together. There are so many people out there that think knuckling people and scraping people is going to get them results. And I'm like, when I simply peel that tissue apart, it unravels itself, and there's not a mark on my client. They can breathe easier. So it's fascinating still watching people use a lot of these very old techniques that are very painful, because the whole question is, if you are getting trauma throughout your healing, are you still receiving healing if you're leaving with a lot of trauma? You know what I'm saying? So I view the body not just on a physical scale where most normal massage therapists play, but I have a lot of physios and all these people reach out and they try to comment on my videos, or I'll put something out there knowing that they're going to view the body from their perspective. when my perspective is at such a different point of view, like I have to explain to them my reality and your reality is different, because a lot of people think that we're doing the same things, but the outcomes and how we achieve those results are just dramatically different, you know? So
Absolutely amazing, Jimmy. Everything you say, just a little bit of context for the viewers and listeners. For myself, you know, how did Jimmy and I meet? The universe presented Jimmy to me. I was so blessed that the algorithm showed me your work. And I remember when the evening I was watching, I remember showed the phone to my wife, and I said, this is what I need. I've been, you know, in health and fitness for a better part of 26 years, you know, developing through bodybuilding, powerlifting, martial arts, everything under the sun, fairly well-rounded, you know, practitioners and body work along the way as a parallel, but never once had I met or witnessed anyone, Jimmy, that was working the way you work. And I don't mean to pump your tires too much, but I can't not, because it's so beautiful. Right. The way you describe it makes so much sense. Every single time I've been in for a practitioner, I'm biting my knuckle. Oh, there's the spot there. And I think I get some context. Jimmy and myself just worked a 3-day, 3-hour extensive session. So a 9-hour total, 3-day stint together in Santa Monica area. And I was so blown away. And I will speak to that a little bit more as the episode goes on. But just to give some context, that brace for impact mentality, how am I going to heal when I'm in a brace mind state and physical element? And it's the first time, Jimmy, in my experience, that I ever was taken to the brink of, I don't want to say discomfort, but here it comes, and there wasn't. So he is Jimmy, for those of you in the viewers, he's a large, powerful man, but walks the line of absolute balance of delicate tranquility and nurturing energy, just enough without the body pulling back. And I was able to just completely surrender, which is something I've never experienced before. So hats off to you, my friend. It's a special gift.
Thank you. You know, hearing that, the hair in my arms just went up, because it's cool when my intention is to take you to that place where you know what's happening, because I can feel what's happening. But you have to be able to surrender. You have to, because you're, quote unquote, just that word in and of itself, still holding on. What are you still holding on to? If I have to remind someone to let go during a healing when they're flexing their muscle on me, and I'm 3 inches inside a bicep working on tissue that's never been touched before, it's really interesting how I feel emotion come out of the body and heat. It's crazy, you know, especially when I tap into that. And it's really remarkable when my clients can get into that same deep state of mind and allow themselves to go deeper beyond. And I have people seeing like their third eye visions. I've got people going into previous lives, and just given information. And what's so remarkable, and this is where the magic happens, when I'm seeing a vision or I just say something and the client is going through a journey right at that time where what I say is exactly guiding what they're seeing and feeling and releasing. And it's really neat when all of a sudden they start talking about their childhood, or they start talking about something, and they don't even necessarily know. After I got through a couple of deeper layers, they're talking about events earlier in their life. So, man, it's so special, bro. Like, I truly, what I try to do is basically, from not only age 1 for my clients, I try to relight all those candles, but also every previous lifetime that their spirit has existed. I'm trying to cut and release quantumly any energy that was ever taken or given, right? All the way back through everyone's ancestors through their DNA. So I'm calling back all energy from the moment that we were created, existed. And it's interesting. My work has always just kind of evolved in and of itself. I never really looked at anyone else's stuff. Mine just made sense to me, and it was really cool going all the way out to Amazon jungle. I saved up for 2 years in the pandemic to literally go out there, get married, where all the shamans did their insane healing, and I was the first white guy. But, you know, like I told you, when I got there, once they saw my transformation, and one of their guests from another country who came to work with the shaman who wasn't there. I walked up to this woman after asking for permission, and Maria's like, "You're here for your healing." I'm like, "Well, what's this woman here for?" She was walking around like a spider. And after 3 hours, she was doing squats and telling Maria in Portuguese that for the first time, her intimate parts were straight after 50 years. So from that moment in the forest, the shamans were like, "Yo, it's only fair that you teach us your healing if we teach you ours." And I quickly realized, I don't drink ayahuasca and do my healing, bro. Like, oh my gosh. So that's where I realized, like, wow, I came here to learn something different, but they want to learn. And the indigenous even said, we never met a white man who was capable of spiritual and physical healing. So, all I have is feedback from my clients over the last 20 years. So it's really, really cool, man, when strong men like yourself are willing. And I have another one in town who's got 15 hours this week, like tethered spine, bodybuilder. Like, when you have the most powerful, beautiful men, human beings coming in, we're like, how am I going to improve this warrior's life? This guy's been putting people on his back, running out of burning buildings, bodybuilding, being a perfectionist your whole life to where you're hard on yourself because you're not even more perfect than perfect. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand that. So I take such great pride when I have a powerful man like you come in that's like, listen, I'm ready to let go of what's no longer mine to serve me. I would love for my shoulder not to feel like a friggin' socket wrench. And if I could leave here the height on my driver's license again,
Right.
let me just get back to the gym and actually feel my chest work. And I promise I won't sleep like an asshole or put 500 pounds on the bench press. You know what I mean? And it's like we almost at 30 or 40 years old, or whenever people start that healing journey, it's like they almost get the chance to raise their inner child again at 40. And this is what I'm doing. Being able to raise my quote unquote spirit the right way, because it seems like in the beginning, all we're trying to do is feed this ego. And then we get there and like, I did all this torture for a plastic trophy.
Yeah. Right. Right. Or some panel of judges to say no.
Yeah. So
wow.
I have so much respect for competitors because it's so cool to watch them change their human body.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing, as you know, there's nothing more empowering than holding space for someone as they make better decisions, and literally you watch their life freaking change.
Wow. Jimmy,
that's why we're in this, right?
In service, absolutely. And, I'll just context, myself, one of the reasons why I was so called to work with Jimmy was not just, of course, the physical element. You watch Jimmy's transformation videos, and myself, there'll be some pretty powerful footage to see sort of me coming in and leaving like such. My lat span, my shoulder set, my posture, my hips, all of it. But I watched some of Jimmy's transformations, and people are coming with severe scoliosis and severe, almost disabilities, and they walk out in a new lease of life. That was in its own a beautiful piece. But what Jimmy's been speaking about as far as the spiritual element, about our correlation between sort of traumatic and stored energies in the form of trauma, whether it's childhood abuse or acute injury, how the body locks it down. And that's where Jimmy and I really connected. I kind of reached out to him very vulnerably, speaking about a career of working as a first responder for the last 20 years, and of course during countless
daily
casualties,
trauma.
You don't even realize the sponge is absorbed to the point of completely saturation.
I took a test. It was like Rahi Dams. I can't remember the scientists who put it together, but it was for mass casualty events, and it was a numerical score. And it, like, over the last 2 years or 6 months or whatever, you calculate all these events, and they're not even under your control. And I remember it 0 to 100, low stress, 100 to 200, moderate, or over 300, like, you can't sleep, you can't function, no normal relationships. Like, I was a 985.
Right. But functioning somehow.
Kind of. And I look back now, like how much caffeine I had and
Right.
We think we're motivated and everyone else thinks you're manic. It's like, whoa.
Right.
So being able to present yourself at a different frequency, and we've had this talk before, we were wounded warriors. But now, not only are we not wounded, we're not in a rush, and the right people at the right frequency, they always know how to find me. You know what I mean?
I jumped on a plane, flew to Santa Monica to work with Jimmy, and people that you went for a masseuse, you flew to California for a massage. Don't even bother explaining to these type of people. It was not only a quest or a pursuit of a service or a practitioner, but the connection between you as a spiritual being, my friend. What drew me to, and as soon as you walk in, you meet Jimmy, you meet his beautiful wife Maria. And it's like, you've known each other for millennia, and I'm sure we have in many past lives, but
absolutely.
It's so familiar and so beautiful to share a bit of a spiritual connection with another, again, powerful, strong leadership, A-quality type man, where it's unfortunately a bit of strange in today's world, but this sort of spiritual connection a lot of people will call esoteric or woo-woo or weird. And that's what I really felt comfortable connecting with you. I was very vulnerable. And, and I had all these plans, and I'll share a little bit coming to Jim. We're going to feel it's going to be great. And it was like a little boy tap on my head. And he says, "You're here to heal, my friend." And the minute I came in your office, I just was like, thank you. Because I didn't want to be on. I didn't want to be in charge. I needed to just receive. And to receive from a man in Jimmy's stature, it literally felt like, elder wisdom, which you definitely embody. And then a few words came out of your mouth, my friend, and I just knew, you talk about surrender and receive, and we're going to regain your wings, and we're going to put the crown back on your head. I was, very emotional just to hear this beautiful show of support. But then as Jimmy spoke, when the hands touched the tissues, it was like pushing a button and a projector would shoot of an image from childhood, an image from the trauma-laden career. And it wasn't all dark skeletons. Everyone thinks this, they're all going to relive these traumas, and I don't want to go there. Some of them are very beautiful, very light, just like little memories. But then there was a little bit of rinsing of the cloth too. And I don't think people
understand. Get to go there with a big brother holding space for you.
Absolutely.
Coaching you, walking you through hell.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or dancing or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, thank you. I mean, and it's beautiful to hear that, because when my clients come in, I just let spirit take over. I really, and it's almost been hard for me to share the truth.
I bet.
The truth of who my spirit is and who I am and who I came here to be, because so many people are stuck in 3D. But it's beautiful when my intentions and what my clients receive, because before you got here, I could feel everything. And I could literally hear your internal chatter going on in hyperspace. And, I was about to work out 2 days ago, leaving the house, and a woman called Maria. And I listened to the first part of the conversation. She says, "I have a 12-year-old boy in a wheelchair with severe scoliosis." And I stopped and shut the door and came back inside, and I sat down. And I proceeded to yesterday night. I did a really long, I found this Interstellar soundtrack, and I put it on for an hour, and I just meditated on my table with my machine cranked up on full blast, pumping me full of electricity. And I cried for 40 minutes. Because I could see visions of conversations with this young man. And I realized I was having a conversation with his higher self, because I said to his mom, "Listen, it doesn't matter what you want or what I want. What does your boy believe? What does he want? Does he want to walk again? Because what my healing brings will only match what he himself is ready to receive."
Right.
So I cannot tell you how excited I am, but at the same time, I can't be. I have to be ready to bring him the same thing I brought you. But as I communicate with his beautiful spirit, when he comes in, I'm going to ask him, "What are your dreams and goals?" Because truly, it is all about his belief. I don't even have control over the outcome. And it's been so interesting seeing that. And I can, when I'm in deep space, I can connect with his higher self. So before this young man, I've not talked to him. I only talked to the mom. dude, I've been having conversations with this young man for the last 3 days in hyperspace, like literally. And I just realized, like, I'm talking with him, whether he realizes it or not.
Right.
I'm communicating with his higher self, preparing him to come see me. And the understanding is, how much work is he going to have to do to get himself out of that wheelchair? I am just assisting him because this is his healing. And dude, it's been an emotional few days because my dreams are the same as this young man's, to take him out of that wheelchair. However, these are his dreams. This is his reality. So I have to be okay to only be able to bring through whatever highest divine energy that he is willing to receive. Yeah. And even not be in control of it myself. Like, do you know how hard that is? To let go of, like, so dude, I've literally been visualizing and crying watching him walk. I'm imprinting and meditating my client's future as if it's reality myself before they arrive.
It's so beautiful, Jimmy, and so powerful. And I really, of course, our job is to educate people and expose people to this work. And this is truly what's motivated this Man Up Project podcast, is to bring, just aside for a moment, the whole compass was the mind, body, spirit connection between what it means to man up. And I think you're a perfect example. Manning up isn't the toxic male masculinity, shove it down and soldier on, bro, whatever, we don't cry, men are. It's the opposite. True man is the masculine, feminine, divine balance. And Jimmy is literally the walkie-talkie example of an extreme, beautiful version of that. So sharing that story, and I wish you so much luck going into these treatments. And this young man is in such a blessing to be in your presence. And I'm so excited to hear this, how it plays out.
Listen, before you came in, obviously, before everyone comes in, I take it serious. I'm up early. I'm like, my life 24/7. I am in service between God and my human brothers and sisters, and some canines here and there occasionally that come in as clients. But it's interesting because, it's so interesting just accepting who you are. And Maria said to me, she's like, "You're scared of how powerful you are, huh?"
It's a lot, brother.
And I said, "Yeah, I am. It's crazy. I haven't stepped into my full power as a healer yet. And I have people who've been coming from all over the world for 20 years. So my responsibility to serve you and to be at my highest so I can serve you at the highest." And like, my clients have been the ones that have always been changing my life, because I show up. It doesn't matter what kind of wreck, whatever lessons we learned, dating the wrong people in the past or whatever. But one thing that was always a constant was my clients first, because I've always viewed them as family, man. So it's cool. And like we talked about with this Man Up podcast, like, dude, there are so many men out there that just don't know how to let go of a lot of the trauma. They're constantly either staring at the TV and being programmed, or they are reprogramming their self-defeating beliefs. They're looking at life through broken, traumatic lenses. Everything sucks. I'm so scared. And they have to get behind this tough guy attitude, and they don't realize the heart is 100 times stronger than anger
and love.
But these tough guys don't even realize they're hiding behind their little boy anger. Amen. And what they don't realize is the things that piss them off and trigger them, that is their issue and responsibility, not the other person. So once you start taking responsibility and your own actions and even the energy you put out there. When I was on my diet in the forest, man, I was held accountable by every single thought. It was almost like I have to be extremely careful. I won't even joke the wrong way or think the wrong way anymore. I was trained when I did this crazy initiation, like, my thoughts are like literally pure, and that's just what it has to be. And obviously, especially in my healing space, but anymore as a divine masculine man in general, I don't even want to go to the gym at certain times, because it's not who I am.
Frequency is different. Can I? There's so much to discuss here. I'd love to hear a little bit. You know, if we could just even where sort of this is where's the gym, where the Bluff technique come from. If you could speak, I know we've got to know each other a little bit personally.
For sure.
But you're originally from a construction background in Pennsylvania, East Coast, right? So a little bit about the background and what brought you to the Bluff technique. Yeah, right.
So I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. My dad owned Bluff Blacktop. His dad was a ex-Marine and then a state trooper for 20 years and then a sheriff of my county, the birthplace of the steam locomotive, for 30 years. Luckily, my dad missed the test because, you know, being a very sensitive child, I didn't know I was an empath at that point. I didn't know what extremely sensitive. I could feel everyone's pain. It was very confusing. I was hyper emotional. Because I could just look in people's eyes. And I had a shaman in the forest, the white page, is very famous in Brazil. He linked the medicine in the forest to the man, the white man. And he said to me a couple of years ago when I was down there, he says, you have the gift of sight. You can see everything. And I laughed at him like, oh, that's a gift, huh? And because it's very confusing when you can look into people's energy field and see everything. You know, and see the layers of trauma and why they act the way they are, but like not necessarily be able to share the truth with them because you'll friggin' knock them on their ass. It's just a lot of compassion anymore. So I get to college. I meant to be a physical therapist. I take a semester off to go to Utah College of Massage Therapy, learn the most insane modalities from all over the world. It was the top school. There was, and I quickly realized I'm never going to be a massage therapist, or the derogatory term people use as masseuse. Masseuse and sex worker is probably synonymous. I don't take insult to it because to me, when people use the word masseuse, it's just straight ignorance. Right. But I'm a healer. Right. Yeah, I'm not even a massage therapist. I've never been a massage therapist, and I don't have a problem. A lot of healers are, oh, you're not supposed to call yourself a healer. I'm okay with calling myself a healer because I am in the understanding the energy is coming through me from above. I'm not the magic. We're all magic. I'm just accessing the magic with the amount of work and everything that I've done between here and other countries.
Healing by definition.
Yeah.
By definition,
I'll
healing
do certain shamanic things, and my students will start to do it too. And I'm like, no. Unless you understand what you're doing. Right. Because when you're on medicine in the forest, you can, see certain things and you're put through certain initiations. I said, this isn't for show. Like, don't. Until you go to the jungle and you do that initiation, don't. Yeah, so there's so many levels to what I'm teaching. Some people think they come to the workshop and they're like, oh, I got this. Yeah. No. The workshop is you just figure out if you're capable of getting near there. You know what I mean? So it's been really cool with now, back to obviously the University of Utah. After I aced that therapy program, it was, for one, you're receiving healing throughout the year. It's amazing in the process of learning. I go back to the University of Utah. It's the same anatomy book, the same instructor, the same everything. And it's like memorize 10 chapters by Friday. And I'm like, oh. So the next 5 years, there's not going to be any learning involved. It's just memorization. Well, shit, should I get on a prescription of Adderall like everyone else? Like, this is stupid. Yeah. Right. So I was working at 24-Hour Fitness at the time, part-time. Before I finished school, I'm earning more money than the full-timers doing sales and fitness. They're opening a brand new facility, fighting over me who's going to start in this single wide pre-sale trailer in Salt Lake City for Taylorsville, 24-Hour Fitness. Now I have a Top Gun leather coat that says I'm a Top Gun. They only have a handful in the entire company. I'm wearing one at 20 years old, and I've got glass crystal trophies, and I'm doing more sales in one day than these other clubs were doing in an entire month. So I'm looking at it here like, if I stay in school, I'm going to be working for these morons that I'm working with, and I could be general manager, district manager, and executive before I'm 30. I became general manager at 21 years old and realized Mark Mastrov said never work for someone more fucked up than you before he sold the company for billions. Guess what I was doing?
Right.
working for people that were more fucked up than me. Excuse my language.
That's okay.
So I quit, and I was doing mortgages because, you know, my girlfriend at the time was killing it, and I hated selling people. I won more Crystal Awards selling mortgages in '08, but I hated it. And that's when I got into fitness, only to learn 2 or 3 times never to go into business with the people that you trusted and cared about that were men. And I was betrayed by 2 or 3, 4 of the men that I cared about the most in my 30s, and I lost everything twice.
Wow.
Got put in a hospital one night with 285 over 185 blood pressure, speaking in tongues after I found out I was no longer an owner of my own business. I was a 30% partner. I thought I signed an agreement for a $30,000 loan I would have paid back in a month. I had a pro forma that said I'd be making $500,000 a month within the next year. I wasn't even legally allowed to contact my cash paying clients anymore and let them know I'm being fucked.
Wow.
So I got put on antidepressants. I stopped competing. I went from 2,500 testosterone to 7 single digits. I went home. I got antidepressants. And there's a picture in my office of my little nephews in pajamas looking across the table at me, because I looked at them and said, what are they going to think about Uncle Jimmy if he isn't here in 10 years?
Right.
One eye was little, one was huge. I don't know if I had a stroke or not, but I didn't know how to go outside, start my car, and drive it. I thought I was fucking retarded. So I don't know if I had a stroke, but to me, when I started using the pharmaceuticals, it only made sense that, like, oh, I don't want to be a burden anymore. Maybe I should throw my suit on and take a nap in the car. This was before I trademarked anything or people knew about these gifts, and no one really knows this story this far back of what really pissed you off. That did. What are my nephews going to think about Uncle Jimmy in 10 years? Well, guess what? It's been 10 years.
Wow.
I stayed. I promised to God. I started writing out affirmations that, like, were impossible about my income. I moved back to Utah. The guy tries to give the gym to another guy. He calls me to sell it to me. Another guy buys it out from underneath me that day. He's still at the gym divorced. You know what I've been doing? Traveling the world, working with rock stars, celebrities, billionaires, gentlemen like yourself, children, because out of all the trauma I ever experienced, especially with the people that disrespected me along the way, I took it and I ate that and I transmuted that into more love, more power. So the next person that showed up was going to get an even better version of myself. And I just kept doing that. The more people hurt me or threw shit at me, I didn't throw it back. I'm going to transmute that into some positive energy, and I'm going to lift my clients so hard that you're going to wish you didn't freaking treat me like this. Now I don't hold on to those chips anymore. But it's crazy the amount of people that are injured that, like, should have shown up to their appointments. I mean, literally, they would have been Mr. Olympias if they didn't miss 10 appointments. You know, so it's been a crazy journey, bro. Literally, I bounced back from, like, I realized, like, holy shit, I'm already dead. I'm sitting there in my parents' house working at a cell phone store. I was just making 20, 30 grand a month and had my own home. I lost everything.
Wow.
But that was just the second time because of my best friend that I trusted the most. So by the time I met my wife Marie in the start of the pandemic, being betrayed by my shaman who was with my ex at that point again, like I was in pieces, broken. So that's the next important thing for people to realize, how healers get to be where they are. Because not only do we have the ability to sense feelings 1,000-fold, but if we do it right, we can continue to heal ourselves and amplify ourselves to another level so that when someone comes in with trauma, oh, I've been there. Let me hold space for you. Let me walk you through it. Let me provide you understanding. Do you do breath work? Do you meditate? What's your lifestyle like? What are you eating? Do you have a men's group? Would you like to meet my friend Kyle? Dude, I have a network all over the world now, and you're now a part of it, because like truly hurt people hurt people. And if men can at least start healing themselves and holding the divine, then their partners will feel even more empowered to step in their divine feminine. And we can truly start living and creating in a different frequency of love, not of anger or resentment or hurt or all these previous relationships. So sorry to get off on a tangent, but
no
it's all
tangent, my
connected.
friend. It is
It's
all connected, Jimmy. I just thank you so much, brother, for being so vulnerable and so open and so just organic and beautiful. You
got
have to
nothing
be,
to
Jimmy.
hide, right? And thank you for when you showed up to be vulnerable, because you open yourself up to let another powerful man love you. And I fully understand when a powerful man like you comes to see me, you have been loving everyone else your entire life, maybe even at times in previous years, more than you love yourself. You gave everyone else. So I fully understand it's your turn when you step in my office for you to get love. As long as you're willing and open to receive it from me, you're going to get the most unconditional, safe love you can possibly get, so you can just surrender and let go of shit.
It's so perfectly explained and divine. Jimmy, first off, brother, I just want to send you, I know we're having the love fest here, but people need to hear this, because this is really how it works. You know, you just said big, powerful men doing great work have to be open, have to be vulnerable. You've put yourself in service your entire life, and it's really important. And I'm so grateful that you and I've connected personally outside of our work together, but to be supported as well, because you're out there on the front lines holding people like myself up, enduring trauma, enduring back, people not doing you right over the years. And it could have easily divined that path where you went dark, you went inclusive, and right now you turned it, you transmuted it into energy and light. And it's like the Care Bear stare, the Iron Man chest, try to stop me.
Well,
the darker it gets, the brighter you get.
I sat in darkness for a decade.
Yeah.
I sat in darkness, and my light happened because I turned my clients' lights back on. Every day I showed up to turn their light on. And I knew all I needed was a little flashlight to see 3 feet. And I can travel 1,000 miles 3 feet at a time. Wow. You know what I mean?
You said that to me.
I just became my own light, because you know what? I realized I was already dead. I was already at the bottom. I was already embarrassed. You know, people, I didn't have body fat. You're 260 shredded, and all of a sudden people don't accept you because you're at the foot. And then you realize what real friends are, and what, it's such a different way of being. And it's great to get to the other side of it, where like, why would I care what someone thinks of me?
Wow.
Especially if they're full of trauma and anger and hate. Like, God bless you. I'm in a state of observation now, because unless I'm feeling, unless I'm feeling compassion or hope, for people, like, I don't want to feel bad for people. No. Why? Oh my God, you're bleeding. Oh, let me cut myself. I'm bleeding too. No. Let me take a picture of you giving you a Band-Aid. Like, what the hell? And that's why media drives me crazy. And I tried to hire a company to do it for me, because like, unless I'm authentic and genuine, there's no reason for me to be online. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm just trying to be Jimmy Bluff.
Amen, brother. Well, we're the world's lucky to have you, Mr. Bluff, and what you do is truly, truly divine. The word savant is an understatement, but a base to start. I just want to, again, the diamond in the rough, the piece of coal, literally squeezed so far, so dark, taking the knees out, taking the foundation out to create this beautiful, very, very different but similar story. 20 years worth of first responder, started with some psychological issues, some physical symptoms relating to this, lost everything financially through the COVID pandemic. My family, we took it all. The knees were taken out, the spirit was ripped out, and it was a real nucleus of which way are we going?
Redirected.
redirected, reborn, 45 years young this year, meeting people like Jimmy Bluff and this beautiful partner, Maria, meeting the people that I've met in this new community where I'm at. It's just a new lease on life, a complete rebirth, and I'm so excited. But at the same time, want to share the solidarity and support for people like yourself, brother, along this beautiful path of healing that you've dedicated yourself so truly to be able to be held and supported by people like myself, not only in a spiritual, but a physical form, ride or die, in your corner. Because you said earlier, when we all come forward like an avalanche of individual talents and skills that comes together as a wave, we cause some beautiful, beautiful change and our elevation of the consciousness, which we know is such an issue in today's world. Amazing talk, Jenny, and thank you so much. A few questions, if you don't mind. I know we're getting a little bit tight on time here, but
before the end, I want to know how I can take part in the Man Up project, how to get involved in that, and how I can refer others to push for that too. Because, bro, I won't cut you off, but I think this is so important.
Wow, so cool. And just to give a little context, the MANUP project, we spoke about the podcast, but the project behind it was basically, I've been working as a health coach, as Jimmy has a background in health and fitness, personal training, bodybuilding, all these things, realizing the physicality and the physical health of our human biological bodies is, in essence, very, very important. But when we get the disconnect between the mind and the spirit, we're running these three separate entities. And what myself and people like yourself have probably realized a little earlier than some others is that all runs in one. And once we can unite the mind, body, spirit in its powerful, healthy juggernaut of a force, it's Valhalla from there. And this is where the magic starts to happen. So my sort of lease on coming through the fire, pardon the first responder pun, but through the fire, the other side, the phoenix will rise, losing everything, mentally being succumbed to the injury, coming out the other side, realizing the alignment of mind, body, spirit was the true essence. We launched the Man Up project. How do we need to man up? How do we need to fill which pillar is maybe a little bit of out of round? If we build our foundation in a triangle, mind, body, spirit, they all have to be sound or the structure will fail. For myself, I always prioritize the gym. I always prioritize the supplements. I always prioritize the bodybuilder mentality of eating fuel, but directly disassociated with my mind and spirit. So when I started to backfill, whether it was meditation, it was breath work, it was a little bit of all these sort of alternative healing modalities that are a little bit more aware into the mainstream today than they have been in years past, for certain. And probably for yourself, Jimmy, when you got into that, it was a bit esoteric, woo-woo, a little bit weird, right? Especially in the...
Until you understand it, until you're ready to receive the message. Hey, my dad said, listen, son, I know you're a rocket scientist. My advice... be discerning and just talk to rocket scientists.
There you go.
And you know what I do? All my friends are rocket scientist healers, and we speak our own language.
Amazing. I can only imagine you going to the Blacktop crew talking about, energy healing and, connecting with spirit. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? But that's so beautiful to stay true to myself.
In a place to understand it.
It's a different dialect. Myself working in the first responder in a fire hall, for example, and it was absolute love and respect for my camaraderies and colleagues and friends and family through the career, but a complete sort of disconnect of energetics and understanding. Speaking of dialect, what's with him? And I got to the position of a captain where I'm running a crew, and the crew members looking at me like, what's this guy all about? But I saw it so differently, which has caused a bit of an estrangement for my career. But I digress into what's brought us here today. I've found that sort of internal energy to come forward and show up with this Man Up project to support, empower is the word, empower other beautiful men that have lost their way. Not in that there's been anything wrong, but they just understand there's a little bit more to this thing we call life. And one of the projects we're working on now is to backfill and teach and educate some of the modalities in the form of breath work, meditation, but how to incorporate it into a lifestyle approach. I don't want to go say, okay, you're an amazing example. You went to the jungle and submerged yourself in these teachings of ancestral lineage.
Let me tell you, dude, and I tell people, you do not need to do that. With breathwork and meditation, you can reprogram your DNA every day. Joe Dispenza, artofliving.org, Sri Gurudev, he blessed my hands. He's an illuminated human. I went out there, and every time I drank that medicine, I came to the conclusion that I was okay to die. And that's terrifying until but my journey's different. I'm a healer. And ego death does not need to be painful anymore, or what
No.
people want as far as changing their outlook. I call ego death is it feels like a death because there's pieces of you that just have to die so
They
you can just
have to
freaking
die.
let go.
Pull the weeds out of the garden so the new ones can grow. That's
The
a beautiful way of
trauma
looking
gets
at it.
to let go. So many
And
people complain. It's crazy.
well, and this brings us back full circle, Jamie, for the work that you and I did together, the work that you do with men. Me coming into you is, yeah, I've got some quirks from 25 years of throwing the iron around, but what I was really questioning was to rinse that, scrape the pumpkin. And admittedly, to the viewers, I've been very vulnerable. I did some work with some psychotherapists and worked with psychedelic medicines and did some amazing transformation work. But then those sort of internal, cobwebs in the corners. And coming to see you, Jimmy, just for a really brief example, my right shoulder, I haven't thrown a football properly in 25 years due to some separation.
Hey, you make sure you warm that shoulder up first.
It feels like it's brand new. I'm still scared to throw the ball, but I'll do it soon. Working with Jimmy for 3 days, I could feel literally rebuilding the capsule and allowing the vitality and the nutrition coming to these tissues. It was absolutely profound, but not only in the physical space, but what that represented in growth and rebirth and regeneration of my spirit and energy filled with light. I came in and that table was dirty, brother, after this rinse and all that, trauma that I brought in. But at the same time, we welcomed in light and new growth. And it was so beautiful. And that's why I'm really so excited to bring into not only our MANUP community the introduction of people like yourself, people like you, but also to the concept of what this style of healing can do for us in a transformation. Not only my physical self is in a new stature, but mentally and spiritually aligned in a whole new capacity that people can't even imagine. So it's really exciting stuff, and I'm so grateful for you to not only be open to work with me, but to be able to embody the mindset and the capacity of what the MANUP Project really embodies, and putting people like yourself, truly like X-Men superpowers of all different, but in a beautiful avalanche wave going forward.
Yeah, man.
So grateful, brother. Just being open to it is huge.
I love it. I love it, and this is why I'm here. The North American Indigenous, the Lakota, have a saying, "Hoka hey." Vernon Foster, he's a very dear friend and teacher of mine. And,
I just reached out to Vernon actually, just to say so.
Beautiful. Tell him I sent you. And
amazing.
It means the warriors would say that when they battle. It means today is a good day to die, if so Creator wants. It does not mean I want to die today, but if I'm gonna die today, hoka hey. And considering one thing you might not realize is when the tribes would battle, let's say I take you out as an opposing warrior. Guess who feeds your family?
No.
I feed your family until they get back on their feet. And sometimes your family would come over to my tribe. I hunt for my family, then I have to hunt for your family to take care of your family because I take you out as a warrior.
Powerful.
Talk about a real warrior.
Real men. That's right,
People
brother.
think warriors, they're these guys that are these tough guys. No. Warriors typically were the last ones to go. They protected the women, the children. They didn't want to kill, right? So it's different concept when you truly learn about the North American, the South American Indigenous, and the way they view the land. There's a reason why all the churches didn't want us to know that stuff, because it just is what is. The law of God, it's beautiful. So I'm excited to continue to evolve this relationship and see how I can come in and just sprinkle freaking love on this beautiful freaking project that you've already created on whatever level I can assist you.
You already have, my friend. You've empowered me. You've empowered me. When I came home from Santa Monica and worked with Jimmy, I felt like I was in a train wreck, of course. But Jimmy did more work in my body than I've done in 45 years of being alive. But understandable the integration aspect, and I just shared with Jimmy off camera. This last week for me was very turbulent, very itchy, very like irritated almost, and I realized it was just a cleanse. I completely pressure washed my soul. It was beautiful. And I woke up this morning knowing Jimmy and I were going to connect, felt this inspiration, and had a great exercise session this morning, just a meditation. It's like it's all new. It's like a literal car wash reboot. And I think it's really important, myself coming from the community of the first responders, and of course, given the LA fires and all the tragedies that have been happening around the world, we're aware
Yeah.
to the point that this community of people are struggling psychologically, emotionally, and even physically. But I think it's really important to continue to educate people with not, again, going in to work on that acute injury or that shoulder, but understanding that correlation between mental health, physical health, spiritual health is literally all the same. And I know it's going to be an uphill battle, and I know we're yelling from the treetops, and some people are listening, but that's okay if one person hears the message.
Let me tell you, bro, it's interesting. It took me 12 hours to get through one of my bodybuilder clients who's in town. He did 15 shows over the years. He actually has hundreds of competitors as clients. He's a coach of coaches.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And finally yesterday we got through some of the deepest stuff, and I felt his shoulder finally release and his whole trap reappear. I was taking fascial lines down the middle of his head, going down his spine, and it's crazy. You can't get the hip to release unless you release a certain piece of fascia at the very top. It is all related.
Jimmy,
it's crazy, right? I can't release a frozen shoulder until I release all the tissue energetically right out the pinky.
I think it's bloody amazing. It is, my friend. And I can't pump your tires enough, brother, to understand what you do. It's so beautiful. And let's just bring it all in context here. What Jimmy's sort of vision, idea here is to build the Bluff technique into as many practitioners as possible, because Jimmy's one human.
We need it all over the world. We need healing.
He's a big man doing big work, but he's only one soul in his 3D meat suit. So we need more of these Bluff technicians to be around the world spanning. So that's hopefully something that Jimmy and I are going to collaborate on coming forward, is to build a practitioner event.
Let's figure out some international dates, maybe the end of the year, for a workshop.
Yes.
And, hey, I could almost take that workshop and do the following 5 days, be the certification, and do it international instead of here.
Yeah,
so we were going to do multiple certifications this year, but we'll see. I could see maybe doing one here and then one there.
Yeah.
But,
the wheels are in motion.
I tell you, man, it really depends on the amount of people that show up at the highest level, because I'm only certifying the kings and queens that are ready to step up to the next level and connect to spirit and allow the divine to work through them. Otherwise, Maria's like, do you want kids? I'm like, no, I'm here to heal the world. And if people are going to be wearing my name on their back and connecting to spirit, that's enough responsibility in this lifetime. I'm cool.
It's a Jedi training, my friend, and not everyone should be exposed, or I shouldn't say exposed, should be allowed to receive that training. So beautiful. Hold it with the essence and the preciousness that it deserves. So that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And for those of you at home, stay tuned. There's so much more. If you do want to get in touch with Jimmy, get in line. But at the same time, we'll make sure we have we'll put in the link below. We'll put all the contact information for Jimmy and the Bluff technique and his beautiful wife Maria. You go visit them in the Westwood area. And I was just one of the last participants with Jimmy. I'm just home for a few days, but a beautiful new facility they have. And it's without words. People keep asking me, so what was it about? And I said, it doesn't going to do it justice. Maybe just watch the podcast and then we'll fill you in from there. But
the city of Archangelis is born. No more City of Angels. I mean, City of Angels is here, but Archangels are here now. So it's time to come in here, get back your wings, which means unlocking your chest, your heart chakra, unlocking your scapulas. It's crazy when people actually have their tissue open and can breathe and can digest food properly. It's life-changing.
That's what I wanted to mention to you. I was doing a yoga practice last night, and just in a very compromised forward fold position, I did some deep inhales, and I had movement into my lower pelvis in a breath inhale that I've never even felt before, Jim. And I was going to call you right on the spot, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow. But nuanced territories and tissues that have never connected A to B before.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Now you're putting energy in energy centers that you couldn't before. And that's friggin' beautiful, bro.
Not only that, Jimmy, but it's like, you take your car through the tune-up shop, and next thing you know, cylinders are firing on whole new levels. So talk about raising the consciousness. Someone like myself that's newly into this MANUP project and trying to really get the juggernaut going, coming home and feeling rinsed and empowered and vitalized by people like yourself, the signal just gets stronger. So it's like a battery charger, a car wash, whatever you want to call it. It's so cool. One by one, we come in and come out the other side in a stronger version of ourselves. And that's truly what the MANUP project is about, empowering men to be the best version of themselves through mind, body, and spirit. How we get there is vast, but it's a beautiful road. And I encourage everybody, if they're just sitting at home, you know, not feeling their best, they might look in the mirror, not be an integral physical self. Maybe the spiritual connection is lost. Maybe the emotional.
Step into your healing.
Step into your healing and just be vulnerable.
I tell you what, let's have the MANUP freaking, you know, project in every country, in every city, along with Bluff Technique, Advanced Muscle Reconstruction practitioners, and we can put the weight of the world on all of our shoulders. Amen. And because we'll be everywhere, we won't even feel it, because we're going to do it anyway.
That's absolutely beautifully said, my friend. Maybe we'll leave it right there. That is so beautifully said, and I'm so grateful, Jimmy, for you to take the time. This man is booked. I waited a year and a half to see Jimmy, and it was worth every moment, and I'd wait 10 years to do it again. So please, you guys, understand what this can really do to you, not only this here, but here. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
I can't wait to talk again. I can't wait to be in the same room with you again, so let's figure out the next time.
So blessed, my friend. You be well. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Click the link and subscribe and the like button, and we'll send Jimmy's contact information your way.
Let's go. Give Coach
Kyle
a follow.
Thanks, Jimmy. Take care, brother.
Thanks, brother. Bye-bye.